Okay, welcome everyone to the interim district council meeting for the 4th of October 2022. This will be, to all intents and purposes, our last meeting for this term, and we look to embracing our whole new tribe coming into the next term. So I'll begin the meeting by acknowledging Terry and Gary on Zoom. I'm sorry you couldn't be with us this morning. I understand they've got a snippet on the road to Whangamata.
Yep, a bit of stuff on the road.
And Gary, you are just unable to be with us for other reasons. So thank you very much for zooming in. Are there any apologies? There being none. No public forum for this meeting. Any items not on the agenda? There being none, no conflicts of interest. Any minute, so we'll move into the minutes for confirmation. And 1.5, and the first resolution is that the Thames District Council receives the minutes for emergency management.
I'll move. I'll second.
Move Sally, seconded Robin. Any discussion?
No.
There be none. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
It's carried. So, yeah.
Well done.
Chair, any board minutes were at this stage because some of the meetings will still take place.
Right, okay. So we're on to presentation of these already.
We can obviously hold that over.
We can. So we're on to 2.1, which is the delegations of chief executive during the interim election period and discharging of committees. So 2.1, which is on page 22. Do I have a movement?
I'll move there.
Moved John, seconded Tony. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes, carried. Okay. Pardon? I think we're in a very safe pair of hands. 2.2 on page 27. And that's the council submission on the Freedom Campaign Regulations discussion document. Do I have a mover?
Yes, I'll move.
Take each one in part.
I'm happy to move them as a.
Move John,
Yep.
seconded Murray. Any discussion? So welcome. Sorry, Gary, you wanted to say something?
I just sent yesterday after the new submissions came in that my quandary about you can't really legislate to stop judicial review. The commentators say in extreme cases like war or health, you might be able to do that. But you saw what happened with COVID. They were taken on judicial review. And if we try and put that in, we're going to make ourselves a laughing stock. So I just don't think we can.
So I think that's in the next report. This first one's about the.
So this is the council submission on the Freedom Camping Regulations discussion document.
I looked at them the other way. Okay, thank you.
Terry, did you have anything you wanted to comment on?
Not at this stage, no. I've read the submission and I've got no comment at the moment, just following it through and listening to the discussion.
Thank you. Any other comment? There be no further comment. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you. Moving on to 2.3, which is the council submission on the self-contained motor vehicles legislation bill, and I personally thought it was very good. So I'm happy to move the resolutions.
I'm happy to second it.
Second, John. Any further discussion? Gary.
Well, I think I just mentioned it about you can't put in legislation. You can't have restorative judicial review. It really just is a no-no. And I've looked at all the commentators on that, and I just think we need to spell out what we want in the process and follow tick the boxes, and then it's going to be far less likely to be reviewed.
Thank you, Gary.
I'd like Aileen to comment on it if she would, please.
Sorry?
Aileen, have you got any comments on this with this judicial review option that's been put into this?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Gary as a principle. Legislating against judicial review, as you say, is not something that I've ever seen done anywhere.
I don't think it's legislating against judicial review. It's actually just suggesting that judicial reviews be constrained to the process and not be challenging actual decisions of council. So it's meant to be procedural, as I understand it, and so that's why I'm supporting it.
You can't do that. I can tell you here and now, but I won't say any more. Okay.
But it'll be a decision of the select committee to accept or reject as they so.
Yeah, but we're going to look like nanas if we put it in. They're going to laugh like anything at us.
It does raise a relevant point. Is there any other comment, Martin?
It does seem to me a little bit, agreeing with Gary, it does seem to me a little bit like a shop that has a sign saying no returns and, just trying to bypass the Consumer Guarantees Act and things like that. It doesn't seem to be, I get what we're trying to say, but yeah, I don't know that you can put something into a bylaw to make a judicial review.
Thank you, Martin.
I don't think select committee would go anywhere near that. I think select committee would say the courts have got to determine whether they have a judicial review or not. So I actually think we need to take it out.
So you're looking at removing
310, isn't it? 310, 311.
In the new submission, it'll be.
Oh, sorry, 311.
Through to 3.24.
So I think what we're doing is actually raising concerns. We're not actually asking for any changes. We're just raising some concerns around the process and what's happening because of the lack of clarity around the freedom campaign legislation. So if you read 311, it actually says we're raising concerns. And I think it's appropriate that where we do have concerns, we bring those to the select committee's attention.
So then 313 says, talks about a section of the Act being amended. So we're doing more than just raising concern.
The revised 3.24. So recommendation for an amendment to section 12 of the Act.
So I'm still.
The new submission that was circulated yesterday, on the replacement submission that was circulated yesterday, because we've added in some additional sections. So the part that's regarding judicial review is now context the same as what's in your agenda pack, but the new version is.
We're putting it on screen because there is a modification to 3.12. Is that correct? Or 3.13? Is that correct?
So through the chair, we're working on the revised submission that was circulated yesterday. It included additional.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So the clauses relating to judicial review are at 321 through to 324.
Okay, so people can see that.
I'm just reading it now.
Well, I read it yesterday and it still struck me as that you were seeking to have a judicial review ban.
No. If you read the explanation, it's about the judicial review being around the process, not on the decision of council where they can have their prohibited areas. Because as long as we provide freedom camping in the district, we are not prohibiting everywhere. So they're pointing out the fact that clause 12, section 12 of the, or 11 of the section 12 has the words have the effect of, and it opens a door for challenging the decisions of council as opposed to the process of council. I think it's a real concern and should be pointed out.
And I'm still happy to second it with that in there.
Thank you.
So with that in mind, if you scroll down to 3.24, so I hear what you're saying, Sandra, and I absolutely agree with you, but we are actually asking them to amend the section of the Act. So I wonder if we keep it as it is with sections 3.22, 3.23, and just take out that recommendation to change the Act. Because I think that
Take out which one?
take out the one that's highlighted there, recommendation, that section of 12 of the Act be amended.
So we take off paragraph.
That's my suggestion, because I think that would keep everybody happy, because the effect of what you're asking for, Sandra, and I hear you and I absolutely agree with you,
Yeah.
is it's still there, but then that would appease hopefully Gary and
Okay.
Martin, because
So
we're not
we'll
actually
take out the
asking.
recommendation
Is that okay? Would that suit?
and
Well, that-
still raise the concern.
You're raising the concern, it won't be as clear to select committee what.
And I'm okay with that because then they can choose to act or not. Again.
Okay. Yep.
Tony.
Will we have someone present to the select committee in support of this, or we just post it and wait?
So I'm going to be putting in a submission and presenting in my own right
Okay,
as an individual. This won't be done until after a new mayor is elected. So at that point, the new mayor and councillors will make that decision. In the absence of that, Aileen will have the power to be able to present herself. And it should be the voice of moderation and reason.
Can I just check in with staff there? Is there anything we're missing in relation to what we're proposing here? Is there anything that hasn't been explained to the councillors?
This is as a result of discussions with council at our workshop recently. It's trying to capture that. I don't think there's anything
I don't know
additional.
if there's anything additional that we've missed.
It's the concerns raised following the Marlborough situation where they were, had a judicial review and the courts ruled on the process, but they also ruled on the decision. So that was unfortunate.
We have also, I guess, related, we've added in a new section from 3.16 around some of the purposes under which you can prohibit bylaws. And that's another tool to try and make that more clear, or have more tools, which is sort of related, I guess, to, not to the process, but related to this issue of being able to prohibit and restrict bylaws in areas where district councils consider it appropriate.
I'm okay as the mover to drop out the recommendation because I still think he's expressing the concern and rightly so.
I'll support you.
John is happy with that. Everybody else happy with that?
Yeah.
Gary?
Yeah, that's
Terry?
all right. That's all right.
Okay, so
Yep.
removing the recommendation on that last part and moving the rest. All those in favour, please.
so
There's just in the resolutions, we've got to either approve the chief executive. In the resolution, suggested resolution number 3,
Oh, big brother. I forgot about the actual.
Either approves the
either or.
chief exec to speak or agrees that we won't speak.
Dropping the recommendation, does that modify the
just that we need to make a choice between A and B, really.
I would be advocating that the chief executive presented, a new mayor's going to have an enormous amount of work to be done and for them to have to get their head around.
Yeah, I'd say Aileen would be,
Yeah.
CEO would be the best.
So the resolution is either the chief executive reports the select committee or the chief executive does not. So it's not who, it's whether she does or not. Yeah.
The organisation either presents or it doesn't, and we'll work out who gets to do that.
Yeah.
We know which way to blend it.
Yeah. Well, in that case, does the resolution need to not specifically name you, Aileen?
I think it says just approves the TCDC speak on behalf of the submission.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Yeah.
Right, so approves TCDC to speak on behalf of the Temple Government in support of its submission. So it's 3 is A.
Yep.
Okay, well done, John, thank you.
Through the chair, could I ask that we resolve to receive the amended resolution that was circulated yesterday?
Yeah.
Received the amended.
very good point.
council submission, thank you.
And that you resolve to delete paragraph 3.24 resolution from this session.
Excluding, and I'll just extend that first recommendation, excluding recommendation, what was the number? 3.4. Okay, so receives the amended council submission on the self-contained road vehicles bill report dated 23rd of September 2022, excluding recommendation 3.24. And approves lodgement and approves TCDC and then delegates authority.
Three A, you've got approves the Thames Environmental District Council in support of its submission to Wolf speak in support.
You're
So you
reading,
want to remove one.
well, B comes out. A is modified and by instead of the chief executive, it's the TCDC.
So it's.
Yeah, she just, yeah, we speak in support, yeah, speak in support.
Okay, so put the resolution, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Well done, people. Excellent work. I think the submissions are very good. Right, so now we go to 3.1. Thames Environmental, Thames is around spatial planning. So, do you want to move it?
Can I move it as my final?
Yes, yes.
Move Sally, seconded Martin. Any discussion?
Yes, I've got some discussion if I can.
Yes,
I'll
Terry.
wait for Lorna and then if they want to brief us on it first.
Were there any matters you wish to raise, Lorna and Mitch?
I think as long as everybody's really familiar with the spatial plan and its purpose, and the things we have to do next to make the whole thing worthwhile.
Thank you. Any other comment?
Terry?
Yeah, I would like to, when I read the report, it seems to me that the stakeholders like Wakatahi and Waka Regional Council are still, well, generally accepting have got some issues to resolve with it. I also note that the numbers that I couldn't get the numbers in the report, and maybe you can help me. There was only 180 that turned up to the golf course out of 11,000 in town. I just didn't think the number of responses was that great, and it was pushed towards more the elderly people. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So when we did our first round engagement, we had about 170 people across 3 public meetings. There was one at the golf course, one in the Civic Centre, and also one in the Kalanga Valley. Following that meeting, we had about 50 or 60 submissions. That was in January to February. And then in this latest round, we didn't do any face-to-face engagement because we'd already done a really thorough round officially. And we just took submissions via email and direct correspondence as well as a survey. So we would have always enjoyed more feedback from the community, but the feedback we got was generally supportive.
Any other comment, Terry?
Yeah, I'm concerned that that we fire the gun here, that we're jumping the gun a little bit, and I'd like to see this into the 2024 long-term plan. I just feel that this is a big project, and there was quite a lot of concern about from the different groups about changing their environment and the building of high-rise, etc. So I just think we just might be a little bit ahead of the gun to just jump into it. So I think it should be a 2024 long-term plan project.
For me, this is the start, and we had to have the framework to then do the implementation plan, and that would be what would be starting to happen in the long-term plan 23, 24, 24, 25. And so to me, without this now, once again, Thames gets to somewhere and then stops. Well, we're not going to do that. To me, those meetings were engaging. I was surprised by how many people went. The reality is that we haven't got easy land to develop, so there's always going to be challenges, and this is a really good start that I personally am really proud of and prepared to back that Thames is on its way and still has a huge amount of work to be done around, you know, the shoreline management plan, this, you know, other land we've got. It's huge, but I think we've made a really good start.
Yeah, through the chair, just to refer to your comments there, it is like two years old, this project. It's been extraordinarily thorough for an initiative with quite a narrow focus. Thames has really complex issues and it's taken a long time because it's been working in parallel with the shoreline management plan process. So really had to wait until those issues were addressed and implemented. So, it's been extraordinarily thorough. The amount of conversations that I've had with people in the community and with the business community, numbers in hundreds. It's the community is thoroughly in support of this.
Could I also just
Thank you, Mitch. Lorna.
through the chair just add, as part of the SMP pathway project, this has been as easy concurrent, so everyone is familiar. If they're in Thames, they know about the spatial plan as well. This is also pre-consultation before if we do any RMA zoning changes or plan changes. So this will become part of informing that. And also this is embedded because as we know there is going to be more regional spatial planning around the country. There is the RMA reforms. This gives us foundation. We also want to look for additional funding that we've done the groundwork. So it will be part of that as well, Terry.
And I'd just like to say that Councillor Christie is absolutely correct and I support her 100% wholeheartedly in regard to the spatial plan and housing for the Thames ward and the district overall. And part of the reason for that, and I stress it so many times, is that we are among the top 5 councils in the country with a housing deprivation. So this is absolutely critical. And can I say that if Whangamata is looking to expand its offering of land for housing, it's going to have to go through the same process and the same exercise. So I hope it gets the support at that time. So unless there is any other concerns or comments, I'm going to put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you.
I'd like to abstain if I would, please.
I'll abstain as well.
Now we're moving on to 4.1, licences for commercial activities on reserves. Welcome. And we're on page 80.
Deputy Mayor, you stated. That's going to be good.
Page 80. Is there anything in particular you wanted to bring to our attention, Derek?
Well, we've been through this before, but it's as a result of the workshop. So most of the items on here, the items have been discussed, so the resolution shouldn't be anything new. Would you like me to go through them individually?
No, it's all right. So, do I have a mover?
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Yeah, get it done.
Are there any other comments? There being none, I'll put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Well done, people. Thank you. Well done.
For you, Derek, because this has
Actually,
been a marathon with no breakfast before you start. Not that I'm a marathon expert, but you'd need your breakfast.
I think Derek's smiling.
Punch the air on my out.
So we have the 4.2 Pollen Street infrastructure upgrade, 84.
Oh, let's can this.
I'll move that we,
Good
Likely your no vote.
morning, Andrew.
okay.
We're a
Do
bit.
I have a mover?
You do. Yeah.
Robert. Do I have a seconder? Martin. Oh, Murray. Oh, wow. Okay, I think we get a stick with Murray.
Why not?
Why not? Why not?
So if we're looking at old clothing now, it needs to dress up.
The oldest infrastructure.
I'm not comfortable with that.
Andrew, is there anything in particular you wanted to bring to our attention?
I just want to basically say this is a challenging project.
Yes.
full of risk.
Look, I just hope that you're able to bring this to fruition in the same manner that the Whitianga Town Centre upgrade was done so successfully. I've never seen a project handled so well with so many difficulties when it affected so many people in the business centre. So that was really good. Thank you.
This is significantly more challenging. Pollen Street, the area that they'll survey is approximately 2 kilometres long, and the cross streets from Grey Street to Campbell Street are 250 metres. So my burning desire is to make sure that we have enough funds in the LTP to do the project properly. So this is the kickstart really, and I cannot tell you how important it is to determine exactly what is under the road now, and two, the ground conditions along Pollen Street as well, which this survey will tell us. So it will be. I've been in contact with the Thames Business Association and assured them that it will be staged. We won't just dig up 2 kilometres of street and leave it open for 2 years. We won't be doing that. But this is just the start of probably the most challenging project we have in the LTP at the moment.
Thank you, Andrew. Tony.
I just want to add commentary to that. So what you say about what happened to Whitianga is true, and Andrew and your team were fantastic in delivering that project. But one of the key things in it, and I'd recommend to anybody, was the chairman of the Whitianga Business Association, one Gary Fitzsimons. He was the conduit between council and the businesses. We had no contact with them. And for that reason, he was one of their own, preaching to themselves. And a lot of the hurdles that we got over with the disruptions to business were managed there and kept out of our forum. So if I could give anyone any advice, just hope you get a very good chairman of your business association, embrace him or her, and get them involved in your project, because that will take an awful lot of heartache away for you. If I can get one bit of advice about this.
I had a fight to get in. I was on the list downstairs.
There's a reason for that, Toby.
Apologies. Okay, thank you, Tony.
Can I just?
Yes, John.
There is one thing I'd just like to say about this. It's regarding the costs, and I'm not sure how they've been allocated to Andrew, but I think, well, first of all, ripping up a main street's always going to cause some angst in the community. We went through it up in Coromandel, it really does. But I would hope that seeing as we're doing the infrastructure under that road, that and that's water and what have you, which is a district issue, that we're actually going to also help with the roading that we rip up to get down to that infrastructure. Is that district being spread around the district, the cost of the roading?
Yes.
It is. Roading's district appropriately so.
I think we've got to look, we're spending 240 to find out what's in there.
Yeah, and then we know.
You've got 3 waters coming up, you've got a whole lot of issues that are going to come out of this. But like any project, you've got to find out what's there first.
Yeah.
I think you're going to get some shock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. At the moment, I don't think anyone knows.
Yeah.
So there is a district component in there, and that's good. Excellent. Excellent.
No, I just had one comment, Andrew. Obviously, the elections have been boring enough that the rumour mill has started about that ripping up the whole main street. So I really appreciate that you put it out in the, you said it now, you put it in the thing. It's not going to be the whole street open. It's a staged approach. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Any more questions?
No more discussion, then I'll put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Now we have item 5.1, Chief Executive Report.
So, given the importance of the day, I think we can pretty much take this as read, and unless there's any particular questions. Just one point to note in the Three Waters section there is that we have the contract in front of us right now to sign Three Waters funding for the Corfu project. So I just wanted to bring to your attention that simply because of no surprises, I guess, is the sort of conditionality in that funding agreement that the communities for local democracy have taken particular note of. And given we are a member of communities for local democracy, it was important that you are aware that there's some conditions in the funding agreement. One, that potentially we may be asked to second staff into DIA to help with the Three Waters transition. And then the second one is that we are signing up to not bring the government into disrepute. We've looked at both those conditions and are satisfied that we can and should sign the funding agreement. Just wanted to make sure councillors knew that those conditions are in the document. Some councils have tried to amend them and have been turned down. So there seems to be little point in having a crack at them. So our intention is just to sign them, sign the contract and get on with the project.
I might need to get some advice on this bringing into disrepute business.
We've had advice on it, and it's and Bruce is just telling me it's a very high threshold to bring the government into disrepute.
We can have a difference of opinion then.
And me saying can say what she likes next week.
Next week.
I'd rein it in if I was you.
Okay.
Just maybe two other points. We've had a significant number of the boiler requests. It takes up a huge amount of staff capacity. We've seen some quite big ones come in. We've got some quite robust processes around the deployments, but they really do take up a lot of staff effort.
Are we keeping a track on making sure that some of the requesters aren't repeat requests for the same information?
We have systems that can do that for us, yes.
Check that. That can be an issue.
And then the other table on page 19, we have just set out for you the number of public excluded reports that we've had over the last 12 months. Given some of the commentary in the media report, this was good for transparency to show that there's quite a significant number that are not heard in public. And some of the ones that were excluded were around CE appointment, for which I'm very grateful. So that's really just for transparency.
So I'm happy to move the report. Do I have a second?
I just got a question if I can.
Yes.
Just around, if I can, Aileen, around the Sugarloaf program and the extended out that deadline till October. I see in there that in the minutes of the meeting they talk about a cycle walkway, etc. from and the cost of doing that. I thought that road was pretty restrictive with the cars on its own. Is that a complication to the decisions to be made?
Talk to that.
So that's just in the draft consent condition. It also says in there that it is a rural road, and so councils normally don't do cycling and walking on rural roads. It's a discussion that we're having with the company and our infrastructure team this week to see if those conditions can or can't be met. Also to let you know that that's on the company to meet those conditions. It's not on TCDC.
There also mentions about the ecology and the coastal water quality required there. Is there some issues around that?
Again, that's just general consent conditions. They did the same at Kopu, and so we have put in some ecology management plans around Kopu. So it's just meeting those requirements that the independent panel has assessed.
And that's pushed it out till October for the discussion to be signed.
So I've just got a 15-day appeal period, Terry. So that's any normal EPA process where there's 15 days that the party can still appeal the consent. Once that appeal process is finished, then it's granted.
Right. I've just got to watch this closely. This could blow out, I'm sure, if we're not careful, but thank you.
John Seconder?
Yes.
John, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you. Members' report 6.1. We will finish the agenda before 10 o'clock. All going well. So members' report, Murray.
Only thing I want to say at this stage on non-members' report as such, but I'd like to take this opportunity to thank staff for all the work they've done in my last 4 terms on council and 2 terms on community board. Can I say I've worked with some of the best people I've ever worked with, also worked with some of the worst, but we've had some brilliant people on this council, and I thank them for that. Some of them have been here a long time, all the time I've been here, Bruce Henson, and I've really enjoyed working with people like Bruce and others.
and can say it's been particularly gratifying seeing some of the younger members of staff. And I'm going to take the liberty of naming a couple, and I've seen people like Rachel Poole, and I think of her growing tremendously. And someone that, you know, I knew her father and her grandfather, and I find that seeing people like Hayden, who also knew his grandfather too, you know, country boys coming to work for council and making a real contribution. And I found that really gratifying. And I just want to say, well done, staff. I think you've done a great effort, and I thank you for that. Thank you.
We can all endorse that. Very good. Tony?
Always bad to have to speak after Murray, so all I can do is really endorse what he said and say thank you for doing that, Murray.
And I don't want to speak after either of them, and I'll speak later.
Oh, no, Terry. Okay.
No, yeah, I'm fine, thank you. All good.
Okay, radio.
Gary?
Gary?
I'm fine, thank you.
Radio. Thank you, Martin.
Yeah, well, just really endorsing what Murray said. As a newly elected member, I've found staff to be extremely approachable, always very patient, and yeah, obviously we couldn't do stuff without them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to staff.
Robin.
Yes. Thank you to all the staff as well. I've learned a tremendous amount over the last 3 years, but I'd actually also like to, and I know that there'll be an opportunity later, I'm sure, but to thank Sandra, Murray, Tony and Sally, from whom I've learned an amazing amount. And I'll miss seeing you, hopefully I'll be here, and I'll miss seeing you across there. But I will be thinking, gosh, what would Sally say at this point? Many things. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
One of the puppets sat across the table.
John.
Members' reports. Can I stand, Sandra?
You may.
Okay.
Because you're not giving a valedictory and you're the only one that's the whole thing.
I am sure that I never do members' reports, but I really want to speak, and I want to speak to this bunch just as you are, because I know there's something happening later on, okay? I have really enjoyed the last 3 terms working with you all. I am, and I thought I'd never say it, going to miss some of you. I don't miss all of you, actually, guys. But really, I want to speak about you, Sandra, okay? I started back in politics 3 years ago after having a bit of a break, and I thought I knew a little bit. And then Sandra and I met, and it would be fair to say, Sandra, wouldn't it, that we actually clashed a little bit at the beginning. And I know for a fact. Well, I've never been hung up on anybody. I've never had anybody hang up on me before. Sandra went click in my ear once, but that's okay. And I know she referred to me as, oh, she thought I was going to be her counsellor from hell. But in actual fact, Sandra, I've really grown to admire your style, your chairmanship, and you personally. You've grown me a lot as a politician in the last 2 years. I think I'm the better for having watched you work. I've picked up an awful lot from you, so I thank you for everything. And I hope that we get to step at each other up in the Coroner and Colville Ward, but not at the community board meetings, because I don't want you at community board meetings. But yeah, no, you've grown me personally and politically, and yeah, I'm a lot better for having had 3 years with you as the leader. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Wow, thank you. Well, it's my turn. That's pretty awesome, John, and thank you. I was so glad that in actual fact, we had a meeting of the ways and we got off to a much better start than anticipated, and it's just been an absolute pleasure. I'm thrilled that you got in unopposed and you're going to be one of the most valuable members of the incoming council. Yeah, absolutely. So your experience, and I think just your steady hand will be very, very valuable for this next council going forward. Look, I'd just like to echo what Murray said too, and I totally agree about the young people coming through. It's absolutely imperative. Local government, you can't get a better environment. You can't, I mean, I'm going to actually take the opportunity to give a valedictory, say a few things, but common sense can prevail at local government level, and it's being at the coalface and in the real world. And I don't think that happens down in Wellington. So I just thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, staff particularly, thank you so much. It's incredible what you do, and I will be referring to that later. So without more ado, that's members' reports. Do I have a mover? Murray, Tony, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. So now we're going into public excluded. So now that you've arrived, I'm going to move it out. We won't be long.
Don't eat all the biscuits.
Yes, don't eat the biscuits, Toby.
I'm going to throw the sandwiches together.
Yeah, we won't feel it.
Oh, no,
It's not on record, is it?
we're just going into public excluded. We're just going offline.
I'll move. Sorry.
Got to say.